You just stay over there, cat. Yeah. You go that way. It's a good place for you. No. You don't come this way. No. You go that way. You stay away from this cat. So, this is still part of the same message. I don't believe this is chronologically occurring at the same time as the context set in chapter 21, but it's being included in this written account because it fits the same theme. We're moving off and talking about the bad kings, talking about the lying prophets. Can't stop this. You're so annoying. Oh, gosh, you're so annoying. Move. Oh, anyway. So, chapter 23 now. Woe to the shepherds, we're still on the shepherds for a moment, who are destroying and scattering the sheep of my pasture, declares the Lord. Therefore, this is a summary of all of them. This is a summary of all the bad kings we just got done talking about one by one by one. Therefore, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says to the shepherds who tend my people. Because you have scattered my flock and driven them away, and have not bestowed care on them, I'll bestow punishment on you for the evil you have done, declares the Lord. I myself will gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries where I have driven them, and I'll bring them back to their pasture, for they will be fruitful and increase in number. I will place shepherds over them who will tend them, good shepherds this time, not the ones we've got right now, the bad ones. And they will no longer be afraid or terrified, nor will any be missing, declares the Lord. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will raise up to David a righteous branch or shoot, a king who will reign wisely and do what is just and right in the land. So there's going to be another king someday. We've been talking about this guy. Isaiah talked about him. Micah talked about him. Now Jeremiah's talking. Jeremiah's talking about him too much. Most of Jeremiah's message is centered on the here and now of his day. He doesn't talk a whole heck of a lot about the days to come. But he does in some cases, and he does right here, for example. A king who will do what is just and right in the land. In his days, Judah will be saved. And Israel, remember them, the northern kingdom? They've been gone for 140 years at this point. Israel will live in safety. This is the name by which he will be called, the Lord our righteousness. So then, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when people will no longer say, as surely as the Lord lives, who brought the Israelites up out of Egypt, but they will say, as surely as the Lord lives, who brought the descendants of Israel up out of the land of the north, and out of all the countries where he had banished them. Then they will live in their own land. I probably should have put that at the end of the previous video, because that really goes with that section, talking about the shepherds. Anyway, we're moving on now about the prophets. Concerning the prophets. My heart is broken within me. I'm assuming this is Jeremiah speaking. All my bones tremble. I am like a drunken man, like a man overcome by wine, because of the Lord and his holy words. The land is full of adulterers. Because of the curse, the land lies parched. Sounds like a drought to me. The pastures in the desert are withered. The prophets follow an evil course and use their power unjustly. Both prophet and priest are godless. Even in my temple I find their wickedness, declares the Lord. Therefore, their path will become slippery. They will be banished to darkness, and there they will fall. I will bring disaster on them in the year they are punished, declares the Lord. Among the prophets of Samaria, that's the northern kingdom, capital of the northern kingdom, which has fallen a long time ago now, I saw this repulsive thing. This is a past tense, of course, because this is done and over with. They prophesied by Baal, and led my people Israel astray. And among the prophets of Jerusalem, I have seen, this is still present tense, because it's still going on at this point, something horrible. They commit adultery and live a lie. They strengthen the hands of evildoers so that no one turns from his wickedness. They are all like Sodom to me. The people of Jerusalem are like Gomorrah. Therefore, this is what the Lord Almighty says concerning the prophets. I will make them eat bitter food and drink poisoned water, because from the prophets of Jerusalem ungodliness is spread throughout the land. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Do not listen to what the prophets are prophesying to you. They fill you with false hopes. They speak visions from their own minds, not from the mouth of the Lord. They keep saying to those who despise me, the Lord says you will have peace. And to all who follow the stubbornness of their hearts, they say, no harm will come to you. But which of them has stood in the counsel of the Lord to see or to hear his word? Who has listened and heard his word? Basically, he's asking to which of them has the Lord actually given his counsel or spoken about his plans? None of them. None of them are genuine prophets. They're all saying whatever they want to say. See, the storm of the Lord will burst out in wrath, a whirlwind swirling down on the heads of the wicked. The anger of the Lord will not turn back until he fully accomplishes the purposes of his heart. In days to come, you will understand this clearly. It's completely obscure to you now, due to the stubbornness of your heart and the lying message that you're willing to believe. But someday you'll get it. Someday you'll understand it. I did not send these prophets, yet they have run with their message. I did not speak to them, yet they have prophesied. That if they had stood in my counsel, they would have proclaimed my words to my people and would have turned them from their evil ways and from their evil deeds. So God could have used these men if they had been willing to let themselves be used by him. They didn't have to be false prophets. If they had wanted to serve God faithfully and honestly, they could have. Nothing was stopping them from doing that. They have only themselves to blame for the path that they've taken. Am I only a God nearby, declares the Lord, and not a God far away? Can anyone hide in secret places that I cannot see him, declares the Lord? Do I not fill heaven and earth, declares the Lord? Of course, the answer to these questions are yes, he is a God near and far. No, no one can hide in secret places. And yes, he does fill heaven and earth. I have heard what these prophets say who prophesy lies in my name. They say, I had a dream, I had a dream. How long will this continue in the hearts of these lying prophets, who prophesy the delusions of their own minds? They think the dreams they tell one another will make my people forget my name, just as their fathers forgot my name through Baal worship. You can get to the point where you literally forget the truth. It's easy to do. It is easy to do that. You don't know the truth because you've forgotten it. You've replaced it in your brain with something else. Let the prophet who has a dream tell his dream, but let the one who has my word speak it faithfully. For what has straw to do with grain, declares the Lord? Is not my word like fire, declares the Lord? His word is the grain, their word is the straw. Grain is useful for eating, straw is not. Is my word not like fire, declares the Lord, and like a hammer that pulverizes rock? Therefore, declares the Lord, I am against the prophets who steal from one another words supposedly from me. Yes, declares the Lord, I am against the prophets who wag their own tongues and yet declare, the Lord declares. Indeed, I am against those who prophesy false dreams, declares the Lord. They tell them and lead my people astray with their reckless lies, yet I did not send them or appoint them. They do not benefit these people in the least, declares the Lord. They were supposed to put these false prophets to death. That was a penalty for being a false prophet. Clearly they're not doing that. In fact, they want to put Jeremiah to death. They did put another guy named Uriah to death. Deuteronomy 13 starts off by saying, if a prophet or one who foretells by dreams appears among you and announces to you a miraculous sign or wonder, and if the sign or wonder which he has spoken takes place, that's actually not true for these guys, what they're saying doesn't take place, and he says, let us follow other gods, gods you have not known, you must not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer. It says a couple verses later, that prophet or dreamer must be put to death. Later on, we have another test. Chapter 17, verse 20. Chapter 18, verse 20. A prophet who presumes to speak in my name anything I have not commanded him to say, or a prophet who speaks in the name of other gods must be put to death. You may say to yourselves, how can we know when a message has not been spoken by the Lord? If what a prophet proclaims in the name of the Lord does not take place or come true, that is a message the Lord has not spoken. That prophet has spoken presumptuously. Do not be afraid of him. In fact, put him to death. That's what they should have done with these guys. That's what they wanted to do with Jeremiah, and he was the true prophet. When these people, or a prophet or a priest, ask you, what is the oracle of the Lord? Say to them, what oracle? I will forsake you, declares the Lord. If a prophet or a priest or anyone else claims this is the oracle of the Lord, I'll punish that man and his household. This is what each of you keeps on saying to his friend or relative. What is the Lord's answer? Or what has the Lord spoken? But you must not mention the oracle of the Lord again. Because every man's own word becomes his oracle, and so you distort the words of the living God, the Lord Almighty, our God. So they're basically making up their own thing. Kind of like today where we make up our own truth. Nowadays, it's completely fine to say you have your own truth. It's really your opinion. It may be your experiences. But if it's your truth, no one can argue that. That's essentially what they're doing here. They're all making up their own oracle, and they're saying, what's your oracle? What's the answer from the Lord? And every man is making up his own truth and his own oracle, and that's distorting the words of God. This is what you keep saying to a prophet. What is the Lord's answer to you? Or what has the Lord spoken? Although you claim this is the oracle of the Lord, this is what the Lord says. You use the words, this is the oracle of the Lord, even though I told you that you must not claim this is the oracle of the Lord. This is kind of confusing, isn't it? Therefore, I will surely forget you and cast you out of my presence, along with the city I gave to you and your fathers. I will bring upon you everlasting disgrace, everlasting shame that will not be forgotten. It's not forgotten because we're still reading about it to this day. To this day, we're still reading about this everlasting shame. So it has not been forgotten. So basically, that whole oracle stuff is they're speaking presumptuously in the name of the Lord. They're making up their own truth and claiming that the Lord gave them an oracle for it. So that was a message to the false prophets. Now we have a message about the people. This is all part of the same section, although clearly it's not taking place at the same time. It even tells us at the beginning of this next chapter when this is taking place. Chapter 24, verse 1. After Jeconiah, son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and the officials, the craftsmen, the artisans of Judah, were carried into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. And we read about that a moment ago in 2 Kings 24. We went ahead and read through that account again. So it should be all fresh in our minds here. The kingdom itself hasn't fallen yet, but a good portion of the top-level talent has been taken away. That was in 597 BC. So after that happened, don't know if it's immediately after it happened or when, but after that happened, the Lord showed me, so he hasn't had another vision here, 2 baskets of figs placed in front of the temple of the Lord. One basket had very good figs, like those that ripen early. The other basket had very poor figs, so bad they could not be eaten. And the Lord asked me, what do you see, Jeremiah? Figs, I answered. The good ones are very good, but the poor ones are so bad they cannot be eaten. And the word came to me. The word of the Lord came to me. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Like these good figs, I regard as good. Like these good figs, I regard as good the exiles from Judah whom I send away from this place to the land of the Babylonians. My eyes will watch over them for their good, and I will bring them back to this land. This will happen 60-ish years from now. I will build them up and not tear them down. That goes back to the beginning of the commission from Jeremiah, that tear down, uproot, demolish, destroy, plant, and build imagery. We're still hitting that. We're still hitting that point as we spin the wheel around, hitting our points in the circle over and over and over again. My eyes will watch over them for their good, and I will bring them back to this land. I will build them up and not tear them down. I will plant them and not uproot them. I will give them a heart to know me, that I am the Lord. They will be my people, and I will be their God, because they will return to me with all their heart. Isaiah basically said this, too, at the end of his long message. Those last chapters of Isaiah were all about describing this process. But like the poor figs, which are so bad they cannot be eaten, says the Lord, so will I deal with Zedekiah, king of Judah, his officials and his survivors in Jerusalem, whether they remain in this land or live in Egypt. Some of them are going to remain in the land. Some of them are going to die there, obviously. Some of them are going to go to Egypt, either as captives or willingly. I will make them, but we're going to read about that actually later on, at the end of the book of Jeremiah. I will make them abhorrent and an offense to all the kingdoms of the earth, a reproach and a byword, an object of ridicule and cursing wherever I banish them. I will send the sword, famine, and plague against them until they are destroyed from the land I gave to them and their fathers. I go back to that remnant imagery that Isaiah talked about so much. He's going to save the people. He's not going to destroy the kingdom completely. He will preserve a remnant. That remnant, there's kind of two meanings to it. There is a physical remnant who literally lives through the exile and survives. And there is a spiritual remnant that survives spiritually and becomes more faithful to him as his people. And to some degree, these groups overlap, but not completely. A lot of the people who are taken to Babylon at this time probably aren't part, yet at least, of the spiritual remnant. They're going to need to sit in Babylon for 60 years now and think about what they did, so that their sons and grandsons can become part of that remnant that goes back to the land as physical survivors and as spiritual. Now they have been trained to know the Lord better than their fathers were. Ezekiel was in that wave of captivity too. When Jeconiah is taken by Nebuchadnezzar in 597 BC, Ezekiel is one of those who's taken at that time. That's enough for now.